What's up, West Coast Swing faithful? In today's video, we're going to cover the ultimate guided connection for West Coast Swing. So whether you're struggling with stretching your anchor step, getting your follower to follow your leads, being able to follow the leads, or looking stretchy like a West Coast Swing dancer, we're going to cover it all today. My name is
Brian B.
And this is Miss Megan. So we're going to start this by talking about the handhold. We're going to talk about what happens in the arm, the body. We're going to give you guys drills and practical stuff. But let's start talking about the hands, Miss Megan. From the leader's perspective, I like to take this finger out with what we call a pistol grip. Megan's going to hook over the top of that. And specifically, which fingers are you holding on with?
I am holding on with my two middle fingers, specifically the middle joint of those fingers, and then just connecting back into that connection.
And so to humor yourself, and we've experimented with this for me for 25 years, if you start to grip with the pinky finger, just do that and feel what it feels like. It's kind of odd. And if you grip with the other side, the index finger, yeah, you'll feel, so if you kind of get that grip, bingo.
And we can show it like this.
Yep.
See?
So that's, in essence, it's those fingers. Now, there's other different ways to do it. If you have something that's more comfortable for you or another teacher teaches it a slightly different way, that's cool too. But after 25 years of teaching normal people all the way to really cool people like you, Ms. Megan, this has worked the best. So the reason why I start here is because even if we roll through the feet and move our centers back and connect to our bodies and move amazingly, but we don't use the fingers, we don't have any kind of connection to our partner. So that's why we're going to start there. Second thing Ms. Megan talks about, the arm, or specifically
being connected to yourself.
Explain that to us.
So these muscles throughout your core into your arm need to be connected and engaged just a little bit so that when the leader tells you to do something, your body follows your arm versus your arm just swinging back and forth without you moving with it.
And that's a super hard skill. So we're going to do this in isolation. I know if you're a beginner, it's really hard because beginners tend to, we're just happy that the arm moves where they go, right? So we'll get there. So we've got the arms. Now there's a couple of different drills. I'm going to use mine first, and I'm going to use a prop. And then we're going to have Megan do hers. So Megan, we're going to put that there. The way I used to teach this is a purse, or where I grew up, it's a pocketbook in New England.
Except for a pocketbook you cannot put on your arm.
No, but we called it a pocketbook in New England. If you guys are watching from New England, if I drop that down there, whoop, like it would basically drop this to the same level, right? I don't want it here. I don't want that the low point. But if I think my elbow's the low point, right? And then if I were to even move further away from that, that's cool, but this is always drawing down, what Megan calls connecting to yourself. Megan has, oh, I don't want to throw this, it's nice.
It's like, oh, that's a purse, don't throw that.
That's my niece behind the camera. That's Dawn, and I didn't want to just chuck that.
Hi.
All right, so
hold that.
I am now a doorknob.
All right, so the way that I teach these muscles getting engaged is for you to hook one of these, I used to call them a TheraBand, but I think it's a...
TheraBand. Yeah.
TheraBand, no, sorry,
you can get them on the internet for really cheap.
You're going to pull back on that stretch, and you'll feel those muscles start to engage. It's not that you're really pulling back on your partner all that much, but it teaches you how to connect those muscles to your core. And it just kind of tells you when they're working.
Bingo. And when I started West Coast Swing, we were just told to grab onto like a doorknob because we didn't have Amazon and this stuff. So this, you can get this really cheap on Amazon. You don't even have to have a partner.
Hey, look, you can throw that one.
Yep. So we're now connected into ourselves, into our body. We've established our away connection, right? From here, we want to play with our towards connection. So let's just kind of move towards each other. So this is our away connection. This is our towards connection. And you have to be able to do this quickly, and I'll show you what happens when it's not quick.
Oh, geez.
Right? So I have to be able to have some tension. And we get into this here. This is where we're going to talk about this in a slightly different section, but the palm of my hand against hers, right? So even though I'm pulled away, there's not a big gap. If we flip around so you can see this way, right? There's not a huge gap in that. I want to keep it relatively close by closing this in, right? And when we get to a forward connection, we're going to talk about this forward connection. I want all of these bones lined up. So any kinks that we have in any other joints make it more
I
difficult.
might typically do this.
Right? You will see this quite a bit in high level West Coast swing where they draw this down, and that's kind of cool to absorb the connection, but my preference is that this stays level, so it's my bones through here, not up in here, but right against this bone, into the bones of her hand, into the bones of her arm, connected to her back. Does that make sense?
Very strong.
Yes. So then from here, one of the things you might think about in this away to towards, you'll hear people talk about an A and a V, right? A V shape for an away and an A shape. Not a bad way to think about it. We'll exaggerate this, right? A V shape and an A shape. But really, it's probably more like an H shape the whole time. Meaning, I don't want to be significantly pulled away through my head or shoulder weight, and neither does Megan, or I don't want that to be significantly forward. So the way I think about it, Megan might disagree, I call it my hip weight, right? My hips moving across my feet forward or back, right? Which gives me an ability to move within my own body, right? What do you call this? Not hip weight.
Core weight.
Your core weight. What does core weight mean?
Means your whole body is
whole
moving,
body.
not
The whole
your
body.
hips.
Yes, I believe it's the hips that we move low, right? Two theories of movement in dance. One is that everything moves high. It's called the hanging skeleton, where my head or the top of my body moves and my base catches up. My theory is that the base moves first and the top catches up. Really, both are probably true.
Also, this is called poise.
Yeah, so we always want to maintain a forward poise, meaning when I'm moving back, I don't want to move back in a back poise, right? Even when I'm moving back, I have a forward poise, right? I still feel forward, whatever your good dance posture is over the balls of your feet. Which takes us to our footwork. I'll put you like this side, Miss Megan.
Sure.
So we also have a theory that a lot of the connection comes through the feet, because even if I do this and I walk back for 2 steps, but I don't do it smoothly in a way that my partner can attend to,
That connection goes away.
it becomes almost impossible to connect. So our theory is that a lot of this connection comes through the ability to move or roll through our feet. So what we mean by rolling through our foot is that my weight is tracking from the toe to the ball to the heel, and then the toe to the ball to the heel. We have another whole footwork video that we'll link up here, where we talk about that. But the drill is basically to move forward and back, moving your foot ahead of your body, and then letting your weight roll into that. Moving your foot and letting your weight move into that. And if that's tracked out, right? If I track out and the foot's ready, then when I move, Megan can absorb that. Notice I moved quick. She was totally able to move. If I don't get that ready and I step, she doesn't have the ability. But if we're both tracking our feet, then she has the ability to move as quickly or as slowly as we need to. Does that make sense? So we've talked about the hands, the arms, footwork, rolling through the feet. Now let's talk about the anchor step. This is where we really start to begin the stretch to West Coast swing, right? If we danced push break or sugar push, right? We want to create this stretch in our anchor before we move. And so how do we do that? There's a thing that we talk about that we got from Brandy, actually. Brandy Guild now. That we want to stop on count 4 of a 6-count pattern first. So what I mean by that is 1, 2, 3, and 4. And on count 4, we have to have about half of the connection that we're going to have at the end. So if our max connection is a 10, right? It's a 10 for you, meaning your 10 could be very light with your partner, right? Your 10 could be very heavy with your partner, but a 10 for you and your partner, you want to be at about half that. Let's say about a 5 out of 10. 1, 2, 3, and 4. On count 4, we want to be at about half of our max connection. Now, as we build into the connection, we're going to roll through our feet. Want to talk about rolling through the feet?
Yes, so I actually describe this as mushing grapes with your feet.
Mushing grapes. Gotcha.
You're going to roll all the way through your feet for roll, roll. And on this last step, count 6 of this pattern, this is where you're going to roll into that foot and take your body with it.
Bingo. Which leads us into a skill that we have to develop, which is an ability to, like Megan said, stay connected to this arm, connected to yourself, But as I move away, if there's no give in this, what's going to happen, right?
Butt goes out.
Yeah, maybe this happens. You know, we just found out that's what happens, right?
New dance.
So we have to have some ability to do that. So to practice that, you can use your TheraBand, or in this case, I'm going to use Miss Megan. She's going to stand still. And the drill is I want to be able to move myself close to my partner and away from my partner, right? And maintain that, which is what you can do with that TheraBand. I also can practice moving laterally when we get into styling things, so Megan doesn't feel that. And then she's going to practice.
This doesn't get disturbed at all.
You try it, Miss Megan.
Because it has to be on this side.
It has to be on that side. Right, so I can feel her move, but I don't feel a significant change in the pressure. That make sense? So now that we have the ability, 1, 2, 3, and connect, right? Half of that max connection. Roll, roll, stretch. Bingo. And now the feet track, and we're off. 3 and 4, 5 and 6. That makes sense? So that's going to lead into the sugar push connection. So there's a couple different things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about closed position connections, connections and turns. But the one for beginners that's tricky is this change right here into the sugar push and back. So I'm going to talk.
So that away connection to towards to away.
Away towards away, which welcome to West Coast Swing, right in the beginner class. You get thrown into the sugar push, and it's probably the hardest basic of the group.
I've experimented with doing the left side pass first and not the sugar push.
Yeah, I always do the left side pass first. So if you're a teacher, I like the left side pass first.
There's less connection
There's
to
less
deal with.
connection, easy, keep it away. I always say left side pass tells the truth. That's actually a good drill. If you can just practice that, monitoring that connection, the left side pass, bingo. But getting back to the sugar push, here's my take on it.
Squirrel.
From the leaders and the followers' perspective. Number one, leaders, I have to be small in my footwork, right? Even going back, when I move back my 2 steps, I want to be small to allow my partner to catch up. And when I go forward, I want to also be small. So that's number one, leaders, keep everything small. So if I just do that as the leader, I don't have to think much. I just stay small and I allow her to come in and out. From the followers' perspective.
Followers, once I get initiated forward, I am going forward until I'm stopped. So we have 1, 2. I'm going forward until I get stopped, which is that forward connection. And I kind of want to get there within reason, quickly, not faster than the music, but get that connection rather fast. So we have triple, and when they move us backward, we want to get that connection really fast.
Yep, and I have a theory that when you hear people are too heavy, what does heavy mean? In my experience, heavy means, well, heavy could be pulling down, right? That's where the purse is dropped in the middle, bad news. But I think heavy is when I lead my partner, they don't move. So the second, Megan feels very heavy at this point. We're very well connected, but the second we release, she's moving, right? So as the follower, you want to move, like Megan said, quickly and freely to get to those connection points.
Anticipate
Yes.
without action.
To quote the great Damon D'Amico, followers, you've been told don't anticipate. He said this great line. He says, I want you to anticipate every step you take, just don't act too quick. Meaning, Megan's going to anticipate she's going forward, but she's not going to go forward before me. And she...
Oh, you want me to.
Oh, see, she won't, right? But she knows that we've anchor stepped and she's going to walk forward, but she waits, and then she goes, right? So anticipate, just don't go too early. Does that make sense? Anything else on that, Miss Megan?
There is actually a fun drill that I don't know that you're going to be able to see too well, but going back and forth between here and forward without a whole lot of, like, no footwork.
Yeah, we covered this early. Just that, right? That action there. And then if we take that and put that in the sugar push, right, it's the same
1,
thing.
2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6.
And for the leaders, this happens a lot as well. The more that I draw my hands to move her, the further the spaces she has to catch. So the way I imagine it, if I were going to throw a ball at you, Megan, if I did this, you'd catch it, right? But if I threw it like this,
oh, Jesus.
but you would reach out ahead of you. So I want to reach out and catch Megan early so I can absorb her. Does that make sense? Rather than I pull her And then you get a lot of this, what one of my coaches called, hang on, sawing the log, right? You don't want to saw the log. All right, so now we've talked about the anchor step. One of the drills that we like for the anchor step is called the wall drill. And since I don't have a wall, I'm going to use Miss Megan.
Do you want to use my?
If there's a wall right here, right, and I'm in the anchor position, I want to be, I don't know, 8 inches away from that wall.
You might have to test it out a little bit.
Yep, if I anchor right here, there's no stretch, right? So what I want to do is anchor step. I want to roll through this foot and try to find that wall, right? I want to try to find that wall. And if there's a wall, I want to find it probably with my bum slightly first before my shoulders. I don't want to find it with my shoulders first. You can see what's happening there. So just with that wall behind you, you can practice rolling into your foot to find that connection, and then you're stretched away. Do you want to try it, Miss Megan? Go ahead, try it.
Sure.
I'll be the wall.
So, and then roll back
I'm
to
just
your
kidding.
wall.
Yeah. So
I knew he was going to do that.
There you go. So that wall drill, we use this wall right here off camera with almost all of our beginner students. It's great. So now we're going to talk about the same thing in closed position. So Megan brought up like a whip, right? And there's a couple of different things in this whip connection. But let's first talk about closed position connection. Same thing, right? This is when Megan talked about core weight, I talk about hip weight. For us to connect into this, right, I need to make Megan feel my weight. If I make her feel it through my top half, you can see what's happening to her, right? If I make her feel it through my bottom half, my hip weight, I can settle my hip weight underneath me. I'm still upright, right? But this is shoulders. You can see it happen in my partner. But with my hip weight, I'm allowed to stretch even further away. So you want to practice that same connection. Take closed hold, right? This is the starter step where we go starter step, anchor, and stretch. A little tip on the starter step. I collect my partner to me on the first triple, so I have room to allow her to stretch on the second triple. Does that make sense? So in the whip, this is a tricky one. This is going to happen. 1, 2, 3, and. It's the exact same position as we were in our starter step, except for I'm off to the side. But if you notice, it's an away connection for Megan. Her foot's down, my center's pulling away from her with my hip weight. So as I step across, I can lead her. So in your whips, it's the same thing if we did 2 hands, right? 1, 2, 3, and. She's connected. Doesn't this look like anchor step? It's the same position. 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Does that make sense? So now that we've got closed position in the whip, anything else on closed position?
Just something to make it a little easier to connect into that.
Oh, I'm glad you brought this up.
You want to connect almost back corner.
Yeah.
How
So
do you describe
if
that?
I put this here, right, so you can kind of see, the way that I describe this is there's a line down Miss Megan's back. If she's going to be on her left foot, it's her left side connecting. And if you don't believe me, try that same thing and put the right side back and you'll see it comes right off, right? So you want to, if I'm doing it, I want to tuck that side back. If I put the other side back, I fall away. And if I'm just flat, it's a little harder to hold on to. But if I tuck, if I'm on my left foot, I want my left side back. That'll tuck you in really well. Cool? So we said there's 3 different kinds of connection in West Coast Swing or in dancing in general. We've talked about 2 of them, the away connection, the forward connection. There's also a rotational connection. And the rule is you go the direction you're sent until someone stops you. Does that make sense? So when you see all that cool stuff being done, all those cool moves, it's coming off of not only forward and back connection, but rotational connection. Most applicable one, kind of goes to Megan's connect to yourself, is in a turn. So we're going to talk about this connection in the turn. This is the way we're taught. Prep, prep, lead the turn. Congratulations, you're out of beginner class. In reality, I don't need both preps. That does not mean that I don't lead both preps a lot of times as a little extra insurance, but really I only need the second prep. I need to walk and then prep Megan. And on that second prep, can you tell me what's happening for you? I'm gonna tell you what's happening for me first. I'm gonna give her a little bit of extra room to fill out, and Megan is going to
fill it out. So I'm going to rotate toward my right to fill that connection out.
And that way, as soon as I release that, zip, off she goes, right? So as the leader, I'm just leaving a little space. It's almost imperceptible. 1, 2. And she fills that out rotationally. Off we go. So as we get to higher level stuff, this is a rotational type connection. Rotational type connection. Does that make sense? So, do you have a drill for them to practice this? Probably not.
Sort of.
Well, connecting to yourself.
Sort of.
Oh, I'm going to give you one while Megan's picking that up. As the follower, you can practice stepping on a foot and rotating in. Stepping on a foot and rotating in. So if I'm the follower, walk, I step on the foot and I rotate in. I step on the foot and I rotate in. So you're rotating into yourself. Go ahead.
I would say out, but that's fine. So when you do this drill where you can kind of pull back on this, to be able to feel the connection from your partner, rotate to the side. You can feel that connection in your hand. Rotate to the side. You can kind of feel that connection and how it's supposed to feel in your lats and in your arm. And that's essentially for the inside turn. 1, 2, that right there is the connection point. Actually, dancing with us would be fun.
Hey, you're done. All right, so there is your complete guide to West Coast Swing Connection. If you want more cool videos like this on specific subjects, over on our website, West Coast Swing Online, I'll put the link here. There's an entire section where you can sort all your techniques, spins and turns, connections, and see more videos like this. So definitely check that out. And if you want a really cool drills video we just did, we'll pop that down here. It'll cover all the topics for musicality, our most important drills for musicality, spins and turns, styling, and whatever the heck else is on there. See you in the next video, gang.